Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Schlieffen in some Airship Escort. This ship is easily the best secondary battleship in the entire game. It really isn't even that close, as much as I do enjoy trying to make things like Secondary Ohio or GK Preussen, even Sicilia here recently work. We gotta take a look at the best version of a secondary battleship. Just look at how many shells this thing fires. It's kind of ridiculous. You do have a few weaknesses, of course, thanks to that amazing secondary firepower. So we're lacking a little bit on HP and armor. I would also say the main guns are a little lackluster, as we can see with this Austin being broadside and not really taking much damage. But still, in this Airship Escort game mode, this ship is almost perfect, I would say. Given that it's also very quick and very stealthy, this ship has basically the same detection as the secondary range. That allows us to almost always use those secondaries, which is amazing, just because these have so much damage potential. They all pen 32 millimeters, and we have some decent torpedo power. So we're just going to dump torps randomly, just to see if we can grab a few hits out of them. Zoning torps here, they're not very quick. But when I'm playing a Schlieffen, I am looking to, of course, minimize the number of people that can shoot at me. So that is playing around islands a lot of the time. So this Minnesota here just barely doesn't have an angle for us, I think. Otherwise, that could have hurt if we were broadside onto that guy. Hydro here also helps us spot a lot of torpedoes when we're pushing in like this. We do manage to avoid, I think those are Austin torpedoes. So this could have done some pretty massive damage to us. Get a little caught on this rock here, but that's just fine. I gotta say, I'm gonna miss Airship Escort again. I love this game mode, especially when it's its own game mode, separate from random battles. I still had a pretty decent time with it in random battles, to be honest, but it's not the same. I really like it as its own mode because everyone's in the mindset of pushing in and brawling, for the most part. You're gonna get some campy games here and there. You're gonna get some sniping or some just passive gameplay here and there. That's always just bound to happen in this game, but with this game mode in particular, more people are interested in pushing up, and you get more brawling action. So for me, it's almost perfect. I do make a bit of a mistake here, walking out broadside to this Monty while he's loaded. I probably should have waited for him to shoot at something else, but I get a little impatient, and the slowdown and turnout, he overleads us a little bit, combined with the aiming system, pulling your shells short anytime you slow down and turn out, means we take essentially 0 damage. And just look at this secondary firepower. Of course, running Lucians, if you have them, is excellent here. As soon as you get 100 secondary hits, you get even more DPM, which is not hard to do on a ship like the Schlieffen. We just have so many small caliber secondaries. They're not doing a ton of damage individually. You notice like 198 is a pretty common damage number, but that adds up rather quickly. We're also trying to push the objective here as well. That's one of the main reasons I came over to this side. But killing this Monty would be very, very nice. I'm a little disappointed that I'm not in a position here to limit the Smolensk from being able to farm us. But at this angle, we should do okay against him. He really doesn't have much of a superstructure to hit, honestly. Even getting a few fires here from these secondaries feels good. IFHE, of course, is what we're running here. I think anytime you're thinking about a Schlieffen, you want to be running IFHE just to get those small secondaries up over 32 millimeters of pen. You could think about running more fire build like that, not running IFHE, but so much of the DPM of Schlieffen secondaries is wrapped up in these smaller caliber secondaries that you want them full penning as much as you can. We do get ourselves a bit of damage in on the Z52, although of course 2 Schlieffens in front of him, yeah, that's a pretty easy smoke for him. And then we do finish off the Monty. Nearly 100k already, and we've only got 12 main battery hits. Thanks to those secondaries, we're still doing some pretty good damage. But we don't really need to play on this side of the map anymore. We want to escort our airship, as it were, over to the other side of the map, and hopefully deal with this Austin, Zeton, and Aegir as they look to do the same thing. That's one of the cool things about this game mode, is it forces you to play across the map and not just hunker down on one island and spam from behind it, and that's it. And that's the whole gameplay loop. This at least forces you to cross the map and try and reposition as well, dealing with a lot of alternate angles that we normally wouldn't have to deal with. Finally getting a Citadel here into the Austin, and our secondaries are going to finish him off. Now we got the Zeton and Aegir to deal with which shouldn't be too bad for us. But I gotta say, I wish we would get a few more opportunities to play this game mode. I think this is such a massive success as far as game design goes and level design goes in this game. We have a lot of the same, I think. I think we have standard battle, domination, and then of course we also get arms race every once in a while in random battles, and they all play fairly similar. Everyone kind of stays relatively far back. I suppose arms race may be a little bit different, but that's more just DDs suiciding in to try and get the early buffs. And then it just kind of settles into normal gameplay of 15 to 20 kilometers camping, a lot of HE spam, that kind of thing. And I like that this game mode in particular forces people to play differently and allows for a more close-range brawling playstyle to be more of the meta even, right? I think long-range HE spam is certainly the meta of the standard game, and it's nice to see a game mode that actually incentivizes you to push in and have these secondary fights, or try and get some close-range torps in on people, Paulo Emilio, for example, or as much as I don't like it, when I'm trying to play these brawling battleships, but G-Nans are pretty nuts in this game mode, where people are certainly moving in rather predictable paths, and those deep waters can just annihilate people, right? It's cool because it's different in my opinion. So I'm sad that we only have these 2 weeks to deal with this mode, and then it's gone. I have no idea when it's going to come back, but if anybody from Wargaming is watching this, please give it back to us sooner this time. And for a little longer than 2 weeks, man. Like, why wasn't this available for the whole patch, right? I don't understand that. But hey, I certainly had a good time with it while it was here. I'll have a few more games to show you guys. Tomorrow, I think, I'll show you guys 8-kill Ohio game. Yeah, I had a good time. I had a pretty good time. Our secondaries are going to finish off Hindenburg there. That's up to 3 kills already in this one. Now, there's no awards from this game mode, unfortunately. Otherwise, that might have been a double strike for us there as well. Certainly getting some close quarters combats would have been good here too, just because our secondaries are finishing off a lot of people. Now, oftentimes with Schlieffen, you will go undetected, right? But here we're not. We're not undetected. So we know somebody's within our secondary range, somebody's within 12.5 of us, 12.6. So that can be a nice way to know where people are torping you from, or if there's a light cruiser around, in this case, the Smolensk, who does the slowdown and turnout as well. As effective as it was against the Monty for us, it's also effective for him against our Schlieffen here, so we don't actually get much damage into him. But we'll get some secondaries. But using your concealment can be a really useful tactic for understanding where enemies are, especially on a ship like this that is so quick and has such good concealment. You get a feel for where the enemies are or where they aren't. Using island cover as well, if you go undetected, they're probably behind that island, or I guess they could have got outside of your detection circle too. That's always a possibility. Conqueror, probably the best possible target for us. Anything that has 32 millimeters of armor or less is just going to get absolutely annihilated by these secondaries. Just look at them tearing into this guy. You don't always get this, man. This is what Airship Escort enables. You get more opportunities to do this. So there you go, 242,000 damage. We get up over 600 secondary hits in a normal game. I guess Airship Escort, maybe not normal, but I've tried the whole Schlieffen with a smoke bot, right? Like div mate in a smoke DD that's trying to help me get as many secondary hits as I can. And yet this one, even without that, we got over 600, which is just ridiculous. And 5 kills as well. A pretty fun Schlieffen game, certainly. And that's nearly 120,000 damage just out of our secondaries alone. Kind of insane, but a lot of fun, and I think Airship Escort really enables a lot of this gameplay. As for the build here on the Schlieffen, it is basically all in on the secondaries. When we get things like Airship Escort, we may as well make use of a full secondary build. So on the equipment side of things, not even going for main gun reload here, just all secondaries all the time, as much as we can. That is where our main damage is coming from, as you saw. I'm even running propulsion mod over damage control here. Our fast cooldown damage controls here allow us to not worry as much about those fires or floods, that kind of thing. So having a bit better propulsion here is going to allow us to maneuver around islands, or if we're slow or stationary, it allows us to speed up quicker and maybe dodge some incoming fire or torpedoes coming at us. Hydro, of course, going to help us with that a lot, giving us a little bit of an early warning on them. Not as much as a typical German Hydro, though. Only 5.5 kilometers here, whereas a GK or a Preussen, you're going to see that we get 6 kilometers. So not quite the same Hydro, but it's still very, very powerful. Only 4 heals here with this build. That's one of the weaknesses. Even with Emergency Repair Expert, don't get as much healing. You start out with less healing, but you do get that massive DPM out of these secondaries, which is just hilarious. So this is the build on the Commander, especially with Lucians here. Those 100 secondary hits are going to give us that 15% extra DPM. Ridiculous how quickly these secondaries want to fire. And yeah, 2.2 second reload here base, and that's before we include Adrenaline Rush and Lucians. Just crazy. So we looked at Z42 earlier this week, and or maybe that was last week. I don't remember when that video came out. Probably earlier this week. And yeah, it's the same guns, but they certainly don't have this reload. Can you imagine that ship with this kind of reload? It'd be insane. Or I guess on the other side, imagine being able to manually control these secondaries, aim them like normal guns. That would be a little ridiculous, wouldn't it? So maybe I understand why we can't have full manual aiming of our secondaries as much as I would enjoy that. But maybe we tone down secondaries a bit and then I get to manually control them. AA2, can I manually control that? Just want more gameplay, less automated stuff. Certainly would be nice. Armor-wise, it's actually surprisingly decent, although you do have some of this overmatchable stuff you got to worry about. But our icebreaker is just gigantic, so it's actually pretty hard for people at longer ranges to hit this. And if we're staying angled properly, we should be bouncing a lot of shells here. Superstructure, relatively small as well, so that's pretty nice. But you're not going to be the main tank of a push or anything like that, just because of your lower HP pool. You're really trying to rely on that concealment and your speed to get into really, really good positions and then just absolutely annihilate people with those secondaries. And it can work out pretty well. So that's going to do it for today's video on the Schlieffen. I hope you guys enjoyed. I certainly had a lot of fun with this one. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.